I'm Steven Ashworth. I'm right, and I'm Ryan Kalkbrenner. Start with the statement. Head coach,
It's a heck of a game. An unbelievable performance by McNeely. We hadn't seen him before, and he was as good as advertised and then some. But it's a game of missed opportunities, I think, for us. Some missed blockouts at critical times, or times we had the ball in our hands and couldn't secure it. A couple turnovers that led to breakouts, and then we missed some free throws tonight that generally we don't miss. So when you're playing a team as good as UConn, you got to be a little bit more perfect than we were tonight, and had a real chance at the end of that first half to create some separation. And obviously Steven was saddled with those two fouls, and we thought we could roll without him and built that lead without him. But unfortunately, they scored, to cut it to 8, and then, it came out of the locker room on fire with a couple offensive rebounds as well.
I felt like defensive rebounding in the first half was kind of where you guys were really able to kind of push in transition and kind of get them in mismatches. What do you think slipped in that area, especially as the second half started when I think they got 4 in their first 2 trips, kind of set the tone? Whoever wants to.
Just attention to detail and taking advantage of those opportunities. You force a miss, and in the first half we were able to do that and secure the rebounds, and like you said, get out and run and fly down the court and keep the tempo in a pace that we like it. And then the second, we didn't do that, and it led to them getting right back in the game, and then it was neck and neck the rest of the way.
Steven, what did they do? What did they throw at you to force you into such a tough night?
Honestly, I think a lot of it came down to some of it, just some unforced errors, honestly, by my part. Missing a handoff, bouncing the ball off my left hand, and then throwing one to the rafters and Kalk in transition. And a lot of that was just, me. And then obviously didn't make a three-pointer tonight, and was 1 for 8 from the field, but I felt I was able to draw fouls while attempting to shoot. And so some of that is reflective of not as many field goal attempts and makes, but so that's some nights the shots fall, and sometimes they don't, but we just got to keep shooting.
How what did you see, just kind of watching McNeely kind of operate and pick his spots and kind of take the game over slowly?
He's a really good player, and Coach Hurley always does a good job of running those guys all over the place, making it hard to guard and not making it easy on our guys who are chasing them around. And then he does a good job using his body, getting down low and drawing fouls and finishing around the rim. So, he's just a talented player. We didn't execute our plan to perfection like we would have liked, and a player like that is going to make you pay when you don't do everything the way you draw it up.
Steven, what was UConn doing to deter passes into Ryan?
Yeah, a lot of it was the backside help, and then obviously they have length on the perimeter, so making those entry passes are a little bit more difficult. Trying to make sure that we can get Kalk a clean catch, and some of those possessions kind of midway through the second half were definitely opportunities that we missed them where we could have gotten it to them. And I think we slowly figured it out a little bit with some more dribble penetration and then some different seals so the help couldn't be there from the weak side, which led to easy baskets for Kalk.
This for either or. Your guys' win streak started exactly a month ago today. Now that you've had your first loss in 9 games or 10 games, how do you guys feel at the moment?
After being in my 5th year, you realize games like this are going to happen, and you obviously can't just look over it like, oh well, it happened, but you're going to learn from it. You just take what you can from it and move on. This is a tough league. There are going to be some tough games, and it's going to be some games that don't go your way. So we're still in a great position to have an opportunity to do some great things with this year's team. So learn what we can from this, but don't panic, don't fall apart. We're not going to do any of that.
do one more for the guys. All right, thanks.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Thanks, y'all.
See you, boys.
We'll continue with questions for Coach.
I'm sure they didn't want their bigs to get in foul trouble, but that small lineup seemed to be the blessing blessing in disguise in a game like that. It seemed to create some things that they can take advantage of.
Yeah, I mean, we were able to attack that lineup in the first half. That's when we created some separation. And in the second half, it almost had the adverse effect. They got, Stewart hit that three, and then that forced Kalk a little wider. So they were able to kind of make their run with their bigs out of the game, which I don't know how much they've played all year without one of those guys on the floor. So it was just the reality of it is they shoot, 39% from the field and 23% from the three-point line. So, we did our job defensively. And those numbers are good enough to win. Frankly, 10 turnovers, and like Steven said, some of them were just kind of self-inflicted. But we just didn't do enough of the little things that we've been doing pretty well. Went the wrong way in a couple screens. We let McNeely walk into one in transition. That attention to detail has been pretty on point, and I think we got a little fatigued. There wasn't a timeout. It seemed like from 15:30 to 7:30, there was hardly any stoppages, and both teams were gassed. And obviously, it's been a long stretch for us with all these games without a lot of time off.
This was your 10th game in 32 days. You mentioned Saturday after Marquette that you guys were running on empty. Did you feel the effects of that tonight?
Maybe a little in the second half. I don't know that the 10 and 32 is as difficult as the 3 and 6, with the first one being a 3 a.m. return. So that sets your system back. But everybody in the league has to do it at some point. And like I said, defensively, we did enough to win this game. We just, Steven's got an open look. Fedor's wide open in the corner, both in 2-point games to take the lead, and the crowd was terrific. We finished a lot of these games. We've won a lot of these close ones this year, and this is the first one in the while we come up a little short.
What would you see, I guess, especially when they had Caravan on Kalk, like you said, the opportunities you guys took advantage of in the first half, what do you think UConn did to make it so hard to find in the second?
Yeah, I mean, we probably actually got it in there a little more in the second half than we did the first half. The first half, our movement out front was better. The second half, I just thought we got a little tired and our movement wasn't as good. Fedor made a couple great entry passes to him. I think Ryan's had a rough stretch too with all the minutes he's played and being a little bit under the weather. So, like I said, everything was good enough to win this game. You got to make your free throws against a good team, and we missed free throws tonight. And we had some good looks at threes. Mason had a couple good looks. Jackson missed an open one. Isaac missed an open one. And like I said, Steven and Fedor have those one inside the last minute to take the lead. And if you're going to win against a good team, you got to make those.
How tough of a loss are these ones to swallow when you did enough to win and just came up?
Yeah, I mean, every loss is tough to swallow from a coaching perspective, a close one, because the one decision can change the outcome of the game. And I've just got to get the guys to think in that same way. You don't know a possession where you anticipate a switch that wasn't a switch, or you miss a blockout. You don't know which one of those is going to be the difference in the game. And so when I go back and watch the game, I really self-reflect and try to think about things I could have done different, matchups that could have been a little bit different that might have helped us defensively, or an offensive set that maybe would have got us something easier. And our guys have done a pretty good job of looking in the mirror too, even in victory, to try to clean some things up. So, as they said, we're not going to overreact to this. We lost a heck of a basketball team, and a guy that'll be playing in the NBA next year had an incredible night. And we let him get started, and once he got started, he was really hard to stop.
What were your impressions of the way Liam kind of took over the game? I know it's the first time you've seen him live, but
Well, it's a difficult lineup for us to guard to start the game, because Steven at his size has to guard somebody, right? Diarra not playing much certainly impacted when we weren't anticipating that. And I know he's been hurt, but he still played 34 minutes against St. John's. So that really forced us to shift him down to ball and move. I think we started Jason on McNeely. So it was a different matchup than we'd prepped for, and we tried a lot of different guys on him. But he's a really good player, and scores in a lot of different ways. He's crafty in drawing fouls. We don't foul many shooters, and we fouled, like I told the team, we probably fouled more shooters tonight than we have the last 3 games combined. But that's him being savvy as well. You know, he gets in there and he has a way to lean in and draw that contact. He's a really good player, and he had a phenomenal game. One of the best, you know, performances we've seen of an opponent in this building in quite some time.
Kalk's, you know, mentioned that just because the 9-game win streak is gone now doesn't mean you go back to ground zero. There's still, you know, you still have a certain base you're working with, especially how much you've improved. Like, what's your message to the guys that bounce back, especially with what you're walking into?
Yeah, no, I asked him, you know, we got to look in the mirror. Like, we got to understand little things matter, you know, and that, you know, I felt like sometimes teams just beat you, and sometimes you make enough mistakes that you kind of beat yourselves. And basketball is a game of mistakes, and oftentimes the team that makes the most mistakes ends up losing. And I thought we had some critical mistakes tonight that we're going to have to clean up moving forward. Having said all that, if I'd have told you on February 11th we're going to be 11-3 in the league, you'd have told me I was crazy. So, you know, this team's come a long ways, and we lost a close one tonight. We don't like losing at home, especially in front of an electric crowd like this. But we'll treat it just like we did the last 9 games. We'll evaluate the film, we'll watch it, we'll learn from it, and then we'll flush it and move on to the next one.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks.